All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday, November 29th. We got 10 in-season tournament NBA games to dive into in today's video. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving yesterday. We definitely had some fun and reporting live from a little bit of Hangover Central today, so make sure to bear with me. But like I said, 10 in-season tournament games like we always do. I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. Talk about any other plays like player props that we like within that game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the final plays. You can find more information about that down in the pinned comment, completely free. So keep an eye on the pinned comment to see the final play. So I'm actually rolling with myself. In terms of our recap, we didn't have any NBA yesterday. Had a nice Thanksgiving football day, actually. But 2 nights ago, so Wednesday in the NBA, it was a 2 and 3 night. Not exactly the best, not the worst. I'm not crying about it. Let's do a little bit better today. We didn't have a ride of the day, so why don't we start that back up today? If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's very simple. Use that hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Give me your favorite play. It's got to be inside -150, so not too juiced. And then I jump on board with one person's play, give you a shout out over on my X, which will be popping up here throughout the show. It's also going to be shouted out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we continue to ride with your plays and let you go on a little bit of a streak, which we've had a few streakers lately. Shout out to Jacob for going on the all-time longest streak a few nights ago, right? But guys, we also put it on the Guy Boston Sports site if you are looking to find it. Again, it's on my Twitter/X as well as the Guy Boston Sports site if you do want to ride. But get those plays down in the comments. Let's go ahead and jump into this slate. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button and hitting that subscribe button. Again, hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. Now it's like we're turning up the dial to the holiday season, right? It goes by like that. But let's go ahead and dive into this game. Like I said, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's start it off with Charlotte taking on New York. Now, no LaMelo Ball in this spot, so yeah, I think this is going to be just kind of by default a Knicks look. What I would say is, and I guess it's an if, and it doesn't even matter because Melo is not playing, but if he was playing, this would be a great 12.5 point spot for Charlotte because they shoot a lot of threes. They've been scoring a decent amount from 3 this year. When I say decent amount, third most in the entire league, but they're shooting in the last 10 games the second most above the break threes. The Knicks are allowing the third most points from 3, so it kind of stinks. This could be a nice underdog spot if Melo is playing. He's not, so yeah, it's going to be a little default look to the Knicks here. I don't know if I get there myself because I guess of how inconsistent this team has been. Like Denver, that game against Denver, the Knicks win 145-118. You're like, oh my God, that offense, right? And then they get beat by 15 as 4-point favorites against Dallas without Luka. So I don't know, a lot of up and down with this team. So I'm probably going to stick away from this. I do have a player prop that I'm considering, but by default, because Melo's out and how important and how great he's been, I lean towards Knicks. In terms of a total here, though, I did strongly consider this one. I like the under. I mean, without Melo, this team, it shouldn't be scoring as much, right? They're already a very slow-paced team, and the Knicks aren't exactly the most diabolical team in terms of pace and whatnot, right? So, yeah, I'm going to lean towards an under 221 in that spot. I've seen it at 223 between there. I've seen the 222s in the last couple hours this morning. So, yeah, maybe if we wait this out and get the best line out there, I don't mind an under in this game. And then from a player prop perspective, I like Josh Green here, over 1.5 three-pointers made. Great odds, -110 around there right now. I already mentioned the Knicks, not all that great at stopping threes, right? And that's where Charlotte likes to shoot from. And Josh Green, if you don't know, is pretty much, I don't want to say exclusively, but a three-point shooter, right? Last year, I believe he shot, it was nearly 40% from 3. His minutes have been up and down, but I do expect him to play plenty more minutes here without Melo in there. He's only played, 16 games so far this year. He's averaging 25.8 minutes, right? But in his last 5 games, his minutes have been up there at 29.4, so I do think that he'll play a little bit more with when Miles Bridges out, LaMelo Ball out, all the injuries that they have. You do have a shooter here now, so I like Josh Green over 1.5 three-pointers made as a player prop. So the under and Green, that player prop spot, are 2 considerations for final plays. I know I said Knicks in this spot, but I really don't think that I get to the Knicks. That's such a big number. Even though I do think they're the better team, obviously with Melo out, it's still such a large number for an inconsistent team. All right, next up, Atlanta taking on Cleveland. Atlanta, this spread is a little bit smaller than I would imagine. Now, these two teams just played. Cleveland were 9-point favorites, and Atlanta in Cleveland, won the game outright by 11 points as 9-point dog. So maybe that's why this number is small, and I've even seen it at 7, so I think it might be moving in that direction, right? To me, Cleveland bounces back here. They are one of the best teams in the league. They should match up fairly well against this Cleveland team. They didn't play the best of defenses, defensive performances against Atlanta last time out, but still, to me, I'm trying not to overthink this one. It's like everything that I said about the first time they played, now that was a huge number, right? 9. But from where Cleveland should be the better defensive team, they should be able to dominate the perimeter. Both teams like to score in the paint, but both teams are decent defensively in the paint. Like, all that still rings true, a couple days later. And I think this should be a Cleveland spot. So give me Cleveland. I've actually seen a 6 out there right now. That is over on 5.5 on ESPN. So maybe I'm missing something. You guys, if you see something throughout the day and you can help people out, definitely take a peek or mention in the comments what you've seen, because this number's not making all that much sense. Like, is there a severe injury that we're missing or something? Looks like Cleveland should be healthy, right? So yeah, a little bit weird that this is 5.5. I think Cleveland bounces back in a big way here. I don't think Atlanta, beats them twice, obviously. So give me Cleveland in this spot. I still like the under. Last time we took Atlanta team total under, and that was one of the worst reads we've had. We took them under, 117.5. They scored like 135. I like that again. I like the under. I think Cleveland's defense actually does what it's supposed to do this time. So yeah, call me crazy. We're doing the same thing and expecting different results, and that's the case even with player props. We had Darius Garland over in 3s and Donovan Mitchell over in 3s. Running it right back. Donovan Mitchell over 3.5 threes. Darius Garland over 2.5 threes. Donovan Mitchell did hit for the plus 100. We don't have those odds, the luxury of that, but I like all that. So yeah, maybe I'll sound the psycho alert alarm, not because Cleveland's the psycho side, but because we're literally thinking about running back exactly what we did and got burned with on Wednesday. You know what I mean? But it is what it is right now. I think that Cleveland wins this one. I think that this game's a lot lower pace, and I think Garland and Mitchell both have good games from the perimeter. It's where my head's at. Maybe I'm a little bit crazy, but I feel like I shouldn't be, right? Cleveland is the better team. Now, one thing that makes me feel not so crazy is how much of a no-brainer we have over on Underdog right now. I know this is a basketball program today, but Patrick Mahomes, 0.5 total yards for the Raiders and the Chiefs game. He can run for it. He can pass for it. Just use the link down below to sign up for Underdog. They also have Feast Week going on right now, which they have profit boosts, discount tokens, gimme picks, and so much more through Saturday. So you have 2 more days, today and Saturday, to take advantage of Feast Week, guys. Go check out Underdog. If you're not aware of what it is a DFS platform in which you select more or less or higher or lower for set projection for players, aka, someone's points line could be 19.5. You say more or less, you put it into your entry. The more you get correct in that entry, the more you get paid out. It's really, really cool. And again, Feast Week, all of these promos, discounted squares and whatnot, and you get this Patrick Mahomes one. Today's a great day to sign up for Underdog. Seriously, guys, they have a great deposit bonus going on right now. It's like up to $1,000. Like, no brainer. That is not crazy. You know what I mean? It might be crazy. We're expecting different results with the Cavs and whatnot, but this is not crazy. It'll be the smartest thing you do today. Go check out Underdog again. That link will be down below in the description as well as the pinned comment. Do not regret missing this moment, guys. That is a great deal. All right, Pelicans taking on Memphis. So a couple days ago, right? I liked the Pelicans, and I was like, watching the score, well, not watching the game, but watching the score of the Pelicans take on Toronto, and I was kicking myself because I was like, oh my God, the Pelicans were the play. I said that. I didn't get to the window. I didn't want to place it. And then they just faded off, and Toronto beat them 119-93 in a game that they were looking pretty decent, right? So this is tough because I still do think a healthy Pelicans team is good. Like DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Trey Murphy should be back. Still without Zion, but I do think that this team is, at least has some revival in them. Brandon Ingram, Trey Murphy are game time decisions, as is Ja Morant. So obviously a lot of injuries to kind of monitor with this one. I'll sound the psycho alert alarm. If Brandon Ingram plays and Trey Murphy plays, I know they're still without Zion, but I can see 11 points being a little bit too much to put on the table there for Memphis. Now, Memphis has been playing really good, but the teams they've played have not been impressive. Philly, Chicago, Portland, and Detroit in their last 4 games. They're 4-0 both straight up and against the number in their last 4 here. But I don't think that that's all impressive. Now, the one sort of argument to what I'm saying, right? So if you're on this side being like you're an idiot, Ev, the point would be, well, the Pelicans are no better than those guys. You know what I mean? It's not like Memphis has a tough matchup now. So I get that. And on that same note, the Pelicans 1-8 on the road this year. Memphis 8-3. So I sounded the cycle alert alarm. We're abusing that button today, I guess. But I do think that that's just a large number. Do I think Memphis wins the game and they're the better team? Yeah. Ja Morant plays? Yeah. But 11 just seems like it's a little bit too much, in my opinion there. So yeah, we'll lean towards the Pelicans. Is it kind of crazy? Probably, but this is a spot in which both teams in their last 10 games, had this been the number 11, right, in terms of the spread, both teams have covered that 5 times. So if you get that number and it's a 50-50 toss-up, like I don't necessarily want to be the team that has to blow them out. Now, it is an in-season tournament game, meaning Memphis will play their starters. They'll run up the score and whatnot. So that is definitely another point against it. But to me, like I mentioned, I still do think that the Pelicans can, if healthy, kind of revive a little bit. I'm probably the dumb one in the room, though, right? In terms of the total here, it's sitting at 225. I do think that the Pelicans can slow this game down, but probably not enough to get below that 225 mark, right? Like, that isn't a high number. Memphis, with Ja Morant playing, is going to fly. They love to score in the paint. The Pelicans probably aren't going to be able to stop them all that well. I don't think Memphis is a bad defense, but if they play fast, the Pelicans probably can match that and score some too. So I'll lean towards the over, even though I really did want to get to the under, because I think the Pelicans, one of the slower paced teams, can slow this down. And if you don't believe in the Pelicans whatsoever, you don't think they're going to score a lot of points, right? So give me the over, but I tried to get to the under, so that's a little bit confusing. Just know, in terms of what I actually like, based on everything we look at, I do like the over. The gut wanted the under, though, the big old gut. Next up, we have Minnesota taking on the Clippers. Everything that you look at says this should be a Clippers spot, okay? Minnesota likes to shoot from 3. They score from 3. Clippers have not been actually top 10 in this season in terms of preventing points from 3. They like to score in the paint. Minnesota's been very bad at preventing points in the paint. But at some point, the tides have to turn. Minnesota is better than what they've been playing, right? They've lost 4 straight games. Toronto, Houston, Sacramento are the last 3. Toronto, Boston, Houston, Sacramento are the last 4. And yeah, at some point I feel like things turn. So weirdly enough, I think the fact that Minnesota's at home here, day off, I'm going to go Minnesota -5. But like I'm saying, I'm not trying to talk anyone off of the Clippers in this spot, because all the numbers say Clippers. I just think that at some point, the Clippers are due for regression. They've won 6 of their last 7 games, right? And they've played some cupcake teams, some good teams. Like, they've had a mixed bag of competition, so I don't know exactly where to come out on that. To me, 5 points. I've seen some 5.5s out there. If you can get the Minnesota Timberwolves at 5, that's what I'm going to do. But I'm being honest with you. A lot of numbers speak to the Clippers. I'm just almost trying to foresee some progression from Minnesota and then regression from the Clippers in this spot. In Minnesota, you're going to want to get them, at home if you are liking them, because that's where they've won this year. 5 of their 8 wins have been at home. In terms of the total, so Minnesota and the Clippers both don't play at the fastest of paces. And Minnesota, if I think that they're going to control the pace of this game, I would say it's going to be by the 3 ball and whatnot, but they shouldn't have the easiest time from the 3 ball spot. So I think they will have to get to the hoop, and we already know the Clippers will try and get to the hoop. So 216, though it's a low number, I like the under in this one. I think we're counting by 2s a lot more than we are by 3. Now, from a player prop perspective, I don't mind James Harden over 7.5 assists. This is a big-time gap in the Minnesota defense at, preventing points in the paint and whatnot. And I can see James Harden kind of slashing in there and being able to drop off passes to Zubats or anyone else really in the paint for these nice spots. Rudy Gobert is going to help a lot and try to block shots, leaving some of these guys down low to be open. So I like James Harden over 7.5 assists. In terms of another one, we've been crushing it. Ivica Zubac, I can say his name now. Shout out to Brett, who helped me a long, long time ago. I'll never forget that because it rhymes with pizza. He's been crushing it, and we've taken him so many times. Are we getting a little too greedy looking at him again here today at over 14.5 points? Potentially. I like the matchup. He doesn't necessarily perform well against Minnesota, but Minnesota's interior defense has been a lot different this year than in years past. So I'm gonna roll with it, at least in terms of a lean for now. Zubats over 14.5 points. He's been on fire, and I don't see any reason why he should stop. But at the same time, I probably would take Harden's assists over his points today. Real quick, guys, like I mentioned, hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, but it is Black Friday today, and over on the site, the merch site, we do have some amazing Black Friday deals. You can find more about that in the pinned comment. It'll take you to the Guy Boston Sports site, and all the information will be there. But we have rope hats. We have everything's discounted up to 40% off. The rope hats are the most discounted, normally selling at $24.99. They're going out the door at $13.99 and $14.99 today through Saturday through Sunday. We'll see how long we extend it, right? Because we got Cyber Monday coming up. But guys, if you've ever thought about trying to pick up some merch, now literally is the time to do so. Go head over there. Again, check down below. The link will take you there, and you get plenty of information on what the best deals are and everything like that. So go ahead and check it out. It helps support us as well, rocking the gear and whatnot. So go check it out, guys. Happy Black Friday. All right, Brooklyn taking on Orlando. Honestly and transparently, this is not one of my favorite matchups here on the board today. Brooklyn's been looking good, but so has Orlando. Now, Orlando is a far better team when they're at home. They're actually 9-0 at home this year. So, at home, right? And they're on the road. I almost got my things mixed up here. Yes, 9-0 at home. I believe that's right. But 4-7 on the road. Brooklyn's a better home team. The thing with Brooklyn, though, is they're so injured. No Schroeder. Cam Johnson is game time decision. Dorian Finney-Smith game time decision. You do have Nick Claxton is a game time decision. Then we have from guys that are out. Like I said, Schroeder's out. You have Cam Thomas out. Like they just are too. Bogdanovich still out. Like they have too many injuries for me to like them today. So kind of similar to Charlotte, like we started the video talking about. I think by default, I do look at Orlando, but I don't really love the spot. It's a big number for Orlando here. They are on the road. We already just talked about how they don't play as well on the road. They're injured in and of itself, right? Like with Bencaro and now Gary Harris out. So yeah, is it my favorite spot? No. Is it my favorite matchup? Already told you it wasn't, but I'll lean towards Orlando. That Brooklyn team is just way too beaten and bruised. Total is 209. I almost want to just say, screw it, this should be an over because we have two NBA ball clubs, and, it's 209.5. But the way this Orlando team has been playing, their defense is crushing, right? That game against Charlotte, I could see this going very similar to that where it was like 95-85. It was a very low scoring. So, yeah, it's almost like a trap, right? 209, that's so low, we got to take it. I think I lean towards the under. Like I think that looks appealing, but the way this Orlando team has been playing and winning, a lot of low scoring games here. And even when it's not low scoring, it's not like this massive. I mean, they had a high scoring game against the Bulls, right? But the Bulls play at an extremely fast pace. Brooklyn does not. So when you mix in the fact that Orlando's playing with Brooklyn, it screams under to me. And honestly, just to be supported in that point, last 10 games, Orlando's second slowest pace, Brooklyn the slowest pace in the league. So yeah, I think that's definitely worth noting as well. And then because of all the injuries, nothing is jumping out to me in terms of player props. But like I tell you guys, if I do come up with any player props throughout the day and post them as final plays on the Guy Boston site, I will give a little blurb or snippet as to why I like it or the reasoning if we didn't talk about it in the video. So I don't envision there being much more research done in this game. Like I said, it's not my favorite matchup. But if there is, I'll let you guys know like why I like the spot or something like that if we didn't discuss it. Indiana taking on Detroit. Indiana, honestly, this number is kind of large in my opinion. Now, I will say I like the Indiana spot, so I am going to lean towards Indiana minus the points. They're 7-2 at home. I feel like not many people are giving them that credit for being at home. This is an in-season tournament game. Like, this should be a spot in which Indiana shows up. Now, Detroit may be without Tobias Harris, may be without Cade Cunningham, which are obviously two massive blows to them, right? In terms of the injuries that Indiana's dealing with, same thing they've been dealing with for a long time. Nembhard, Nesmith, and Shepard all listed as out. That's been the case for a while. So, yeah, I do think that Indiana kind of is starting to show some life. They've won 3 straight games. I'm not giving them too much credit. I will say 3 wins are 3 wins, but Washington, New Orleans, and Portland, like, they didn't even cover in any of those games. That being said, they were big numbers, 12, 6.5, and 9.5, right? So I do like Indiana in this spot. I think they're a lot better at home. 7-2 again. Like, yeah, they've had not the hardest of home schedules, but 7-2 is 7-2. They're 9-10 on the season. You know what I mean? Like, they're 2-8 on the road. Way different ball club on the road. So in this spot, I've seen a 5.5 out there. Give me Indiana minus the points. They like to score in the paint and shoot in the paint. This isn't exactly the best Detroit interior defense, ranked just 14th in terms of points per game allowed in the paint, which again, it's not terrible, but that's just kind of middle of the pack, right? And if Indiana starts to run on this team, and this total is at 231, so I envision a decent amount of points in this one. I don't know if Detroit keeps up all that well. The 8th fastest team in terms of Indiana over the last 10 games, and Detroit's the 5th slowest. So yeah, a lot of signs pointing to Indiana. They're at home. They should be able to score like they want to score. They should be able to run and keep the pace up if they want to. And the injuries on the Detroit side of things don't scream Detroit. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. I'm less likely to pull trigger on it if Cunningham's in and Tobias Harris is in. But if those guys are out and we can still get a 5.5, I might be Indiana all the way. Now, I mentioned the total at 231, and I do think that that's a fairly high total. I'm going to lean towards an Indiana team total, if anything, but I don't know if I necessarily touch that because even though I believe Indiana is controlling the pace and whatnot, I already mentioned the Pistons are a slow team, and they're also not terrible at preventing points in the paint, right? Like this could, everything that I'm saying is my opinion, it could just flip and go the exact opposite. Detroit controls the pace and their interior defense kind of steps up today. And then all of a sudden, 231 is really far-fetched, right? So I don't necessarily think it can get there overall. One player prop spot I'm liking, and I'm hoping this game stays close, and it is an in-season tournament, so we should get some minutes out of the guy. But I like Jalen Duren here, whether we're looking at a double-double or his over points plus rebounds. I like the spot. Even his rebound line alone, he's hit his points plus rebounds line at 20.5 and his rebounds line in 4 straight games against Indiana. He's been kind of up and down, obviously, this season, but he's very much, in my opinion, matchup dependent, and I do think that this is a decent matchup for him tonight. So I like him for a double-double, honestly. But also all 3 of those ways. I like his points plus rebounds because, you know, he could go out there and score 15 points and get 6 rebounds and still catch that without the double-double, you know what I mean? So double-double, maybe a sprinkle. You're getting plus 150 right now, and then kind of, you know, over 19.5 or 20.5, whatever you can get for points plus rebounds, also like that. But I think he grabbed some rebounds tonight, so that's why I like double-double and also his over 9.5. But if you think he's going to get 9.5 rebounds, I would probably just say, you know, take the chance on the double-double, I guess. For plus 150, that's not the worst of odds, you know? All right, guys, before we move into this game, if you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment 21 down below, but that is not all. I sound like a used car salesman. That's not all. Also comment who you think of in the NBA when you think of the number 21. Now, as a Celtics fan, this is kind of a weird, you'll see how it easily connects. Kevin Garnett was number 5 for the Celtics, but I always think of 21, KG in Minnesota wearing 21. So when I think 21, that's kind of my gut reaction. I'm not saying the best to ever wear 21 or anything like that. Who do you think of? Who comes to mind when you think of an NBA jersey? Number 21. I'm very, very curious. I love doing this because we get a lot of cool answers down below. Again, it's not like who's the greatest 21 of all time. It's like when you think of 21 on an NBA jersey, boom. First thing that comes to mind, who is it? I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say. So comment 21 as well as that. Like I said, mine is, I guess, KG Minnesota, even though the majority of me being a fan of his was when he was on the Celtics, my favorite team. But all right, let's jump back into this one. We got Miami taking on Toronto in this spot. Miami's laying 7.5 points, which is a decently big number because, yeah, Toronto's not the best team in the world. I think that we've acknowledged that, right? But what have they been really good at this year? Covering games, 13-6. But what have they been terrible at? Playing on the road. They're 1-10 this year on the road. But Miami, it's not like they're this world-beating home team. Now, they do have 3 of their last 4 games resulting in a win, but Toronto, 3 of their last 5. So, to me, this is a big number. You look at the injury report and you say, okay, well, no Bruce Brown, Grady Dick, Emmanuel Quickley, Olynyk. Like, they've been dealing with these injuries for plenty of time. They have RJ Barrett. They have Jakob Poeltl. They have Scotty Barnes, who's been, like, facilitating really, really well for them, right? So, to me, this is a spot in which, yeah, I might look at the dog here. I think plus 8 now you can get. So, yeah, give me Toronto. Is it a spot that I love? Not necessarily, because, again, this Heat team is looking good. Like, they beat Dallas. They beat Philadelphia and Charlotte. I guess we can't really say that those are world-beating spots, right? But overall, 8 points is a decent number. And like I mentioned, Toronto has not been winning games. They're 5-14 this year, but they've covered 13 of their 19 games. Like, they are one of the best against the spread teams this year. So give me them with that number. In terms of the total, it's way down there at 219 now compared to that. It was 222 this morning when I got the graphic and whatnot. Already down to 219. I think I've seen even lower. No, 219 is the lowest as of right now. So 8 points in what could be a low-scoring game seems like a good spot. But in terms of the total, I'm not all that enthralled with it, but I'll lean towards the over. I think that this Toronto team, like I said before, has the ability to push the pace, even though they don't rank all that crazily well right now. They were one of the fastest paced teams at the beginning of the year. And Miami's defense, I'm not exactly the biggest buyer on. I was earlier, and then we got burned by them, so maybe it's a little bit of betting bias, but I'm not all that big of a buyer on Miami's defense. So if this goes down, and down, I think we see a narrow over. Like, it doesn't go and it's a huge high-scoring game, but I do think that we can get to, like, both teams potentially going 110 and beyond. You know what I mean? So give me Toronto as well as a slight lean towards the over, even though it very well could go under. But like I said, anything that I say, obviously the opposite could happen. I'm not seeing the future, and sometimes the crystal ball is a little cloudy after a few drinks in the morning. Not in the morning. In the morning, the crystal ball is cloudy after a few drinks last night. Or drinks in the morning, you know what I mean? Who knows? In terms of player prop spots in this one, nothing really jumping out to me. I would say that this Toronto team has been terrible at shooting the three ball. Miami not all that great at preventing the three ball, so if you want to look at some guys that like to shoot the three ball for Toronto, that might be a good spot. Scotty Barnes could be a good look. In fact, what are his odds as of right now? We can get a specific. He's coming back, obviously, with full force, being pretty much that team, right? In over 1.5 threes, he's done that in 3 of his 4 games since coming back. So, yeah, maybe Scotty Barnes over in threes could be a spot, too. This is not a good perimeter defense for Miami, and he's going to have the ball a ton. So, yeah, that's actually something that I definitely could consider. He hit it in one of his last 2 games against Miami as well. So, maybe Scotty Barnes over in threes. I'm not in love with it. I actually like Toronto plus the points probably more than anything in this game, but definitely consideration there for Scotty Barnes. Chicago taking on Boston here. Celtics, double-digit favorites. Makes a lot of sense, right? Especially just given the fact that this is an in-season tournament game. So, yeah, I'm going to lean towards the Celtics. I don't see any reason to get to Chicago. Celtics should be healthy, even with, Porzingis too. And on the Chicago side of things, you have Kobe White, I couldn't even think of his name, is listed as a game-time decision. Questionable. Not probable, not doubtful, questionable right down the middle. So another reason there. And one biggest thing is Chicago loves to shoot the three ball this year, and they've been good at it. Second most points from three so far this season, the Chicago Bulls. Who's number one? Obviously the Celtics, but who's number one defensively at preventing threes? The Celtics. So they cover the perimeter so well, and they should be able to do what Chicago does offensively but better, right? So this screams Celtics to me. The one weakness of Chicago is the paint. They're allowing more points in the paint than any other team so far this season. The Celtics, though, are scoring the fewest amount of points in the paint, so maybe I don't know if that helps the Celtics argument or helps the Bulls argument, because it could be like, well, the weakness of the Bulls isn't going to be tested, but it could also mean the Celtics, something that they don't do all that frequently. They literally, it's not that they're missing shots down there, right? In the restricted area, they have a 73.1% field goal percentage, which is pretty damn good in the last 10 games, but in the last 10 games, they're shooting the fewest amount of restricted area shots. But what I'm saying is maybe they can turn to that and can score in the paint if they need to, right? Because the Bulls kind of stink down there. So I don't know if it helps or hurts the side of the argument, but overall the perimeter is kind of what, jumps out to me. And the Celtics should win that, honestly, easily. They do what the Bulls do offensively better, and they're way better defensively out there, and they're healthy. In terms of the total at 242, the Bulls play with a fast pace, and the Celtics, yeah, you look at their pace, and it's like, well, they haven't been playing all that fast this year, but they are one of the most efficient offenses in the league, and we've seen them be able to score in bunches, so who am I to say under, right? Excuse me, as I have, a acid reflux. Who am I to say under? I'm going to go over in this one, even though that number is so high. The only reason I'd say under is because the number's so high, but have we watched the Celtics this year? Have we seen the Bulls' defense this year? Yeah, they play fast as well. This could be one of those high-scoring games for the Celtics. So maybe we go crazy and look at a team total or ladder of a team total for them, because I don't know how much the Bulls are going to score. So maybe, yeah, if we do roll with an over, it's probably Celtics team total over. But at that point, you might as well just look at the minus 10, right? Who knows? This is a tough one, but it is in-season tournament. I'm all over the Celtics in multiple ways. If we do roll with it, keep an eye on the final plays. Lakers taking on OKC. This line kind of jumped out to me, and I was, I don't know, not taken aback. It wasn't that drastic, but I'm kind of surprised as to where it is now. We can admit that this OKC team has still been winning games without, obviously, Chet Holmgren, right? The Lakers, though, 7 of the last 10 games they've won, but 3 of their last 4 they've lost. I'm surprised that this line is where it is, in all honesty, but it is an in-season tournament game. The Lakers seem to play well in in-season tournament games, I guess. It's a tough spot. I think what puts me over the edge is the fact that the Lakers like to score in the paint, and OKC has been phenomenal at preventing points in the paint this year. Number 1 in the entire league, even in the restricted area, which LA is a top 10 team over the last 10 games in terms of frequency from that spot in that shooting zone. OKC, 57.7% against down there, which is really good in terms of field goal percentage. OKC likes to shoot the 3. They like to, shoot some mid-range shots. I don't see where the Lakers defense kind of steps up there. So, yeah, this line smells like an absolute trap. It looks like a trap. It's kind of weird that it's down there, right, at 1. I would expect this to be like a 4.5 or something like that. But Lakers have been good at home. They obviously have the in-season history. I could see someone getting to the Lakers today, but to me, this is probably an OKC money line spot. I think we're getting a good price, and even if the Lakers go out there and blow them out, it's like, yeah, I still liked the value we got on OKC, if that makes sense. And overall, I mean, OKC is the better defensive team just in general, so you're kind of taking the better defense even if you don't like, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't like the way the Lakers are going to score and all that, OKC 1 through 5 better defensively so far this year. Number 1 defensive efficiency team against the 25th ranked team. You know what I mean? So that's another reason to like them. But I do think OKC is going to stop the specific way the Lakers like to score. And then no major player props I'm liking in this one. I'll also lean towards the under because, again, I think the Lakers could struggle to score. And it's not like OKC's going to try and run them out of the gym, right? OKC, very middle of the pack type of team in terms of pace. Sacramento taking on Portland. Not the most healthy Sacramento team. I would say healthy enough probably to get this win, right? DeMar DeRozan is out. On the Portland side of things, we still have some of the injuries that they've been dealing with. Jeremy Grant is listed as doubtful. Chris Murray is listed as a game-time decision. Robert Williams might be coming back. Klingon is listed as out, and Matisse Thybulle still out there. The thing that, and it makes me kind of like itch my chin as I think about this, because it's like this Sacramento team, I've said it all along, right? So this should not be new if you guys watch every day. This Sacramento team literally has my brain in a pretzel. They lose games that you think they're going to win. They win games you think they're going to lose, and it just is crazy to me. So in this spot, I think they should be able to win by 5 or more against Portland. I think they should. Watch what'll probably happen, right? Portland's going to go out there and like blow them out. It's ridiculous. The one thing I will say here is this Sacramento team, not exactly all that great from 3, which is it's good because Portland, and they don't even like to shoot the threes, right? Like they're going to try and get into the paint, which is good because Portland actually has been tightening up their perimeter defense, so good for them. On the other side of things, though, it kind of counters it in the sense that, yeah, Sacramento likes to shoot in the paint. They like to get to the mid-range. Portland has been good defensively in the paint this year, but they're starting to get worse and worse and worse. So I've been saying all year long, don't sleep on this Portland team in the paint, right? That's like slowly starting to crumble and drip away. So yeah, I think that Sacramento could have some success here in the paint down low, especially with some of the injuries that we have on hand there. So maybe a look at Sabonis or even Fox. He likes to get into the paint, that type of thing. But if I touch this game, it's probably going to be, you know what? Sacramento, go get the job done, win by 5 or more, and then call it a day, you know? So, and by me taking it, it's probably the ultimate jinx, because I cannot seem to read this damn Sacramento team. But give me Sacramento minus the points, bet it and forget it. In terms of what we have from a total here, this is most likely going to be a game in which Sacramento, like I said, likes to get to the hoop. Portland also loves to try and get to the hoop, and they don't score all that much from the hoop. And Sacramento has been very good. I should have said this for the argument of the spread, too. Portland, number 1 team last 10 games in shooting in the restricted area. Sacramento's been very good this year. Top 3 team in terms of preventing points in the paint. So that helps both what I was going to say about the under. I like the under. That helps the under as well as the Sacramento side of things. But like I said, I already said it once. I'll say it again. If I touch this game, it's probably just Sacramento minus 4.5. Ship it off. You know what I mean? I don't want to overthink this one. I don't want to try and, be crazy. But this line is this should not be 4.5. This thing should be, and maybe it will be by the time you guys even watch it. This thing should be like 6.5 and beyond. So if I can get 4.5, screw it. That's what we're rolling with. But guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Remember to let me know who you think, who comes to mind. Who do you think of when you think of that number 21? Let me know in the comments down below, and we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.